Okay, so this is the basic manifold header that we just built. We did it using these 8mm tees, 8mm elbows, and an extra 8mm by 3mm reducing tee. We're also going to be using these blue soak by 8mm barbs. We'll lay out on our bed, to kind of pick the right amount of spacing. There's some customizable aspects of this. This is technically like a 4x8 kit, I think, that came with this, but this bed's probably a little closer to like 3x6. We'll space these out kind of equidistant from each other, and then just use the Superflex to cut lengths that we want to insert into this assembly. Now, once we have one of these built, we can just go through and cut a few more pieces. And in this greenhouse, we have 9 beds that we're starting with today, so we'll need to do 18 of these headers because we're going to repeat this on the other side. But we'll just line these up. I'm going to go through and do that 16 more times, and then we'll have enough parts and components to make this assembly work. So when you're doing this at home or in your facility, just doing things as assembly line oriented as possible. That's the best way to go about it.
These are the individual pieces of a 4x8 header for a manifold kit, as well as the completed header. So here you can see at the end we've got an 8mm elbow, then an 8mm tee, then at the center of the manifold header a Blumat tee, which is 8mm to 3mm. This is where the Blumat is going to connect to the manifold. We've got another 8mm tee, and then lastly an 8mm elbow. So you can see both sides are mirror images with the Blumat tee at the center. Each of these 8mm adapters, these elbows and tees, will adapt to this 8mm to blue soak. So we cut a short length of our 8mm tubing. I like to cut multiple lengths and make sure that they're all relatively the same size, roughly about 1/2 inch to 1 inch at the longest. We like to keep them as short as possible, so that way we can make sure the manifold takes up as much of the bed as possible. And now we have connected one piece of the manifold, and the soaker hose will run from there. To spread the tape out so that it can slide over, turn the tape so that it follows the same direction that the fitting will be twisting. Slide it in and twist it. You can see that the motion of me twisting it is further tightening the tape so that we end up with a nice tight seal. We can tell that these fittings have been installed correctly and the ridge has been bent in the correct directions because they will be opposing each other. One will be twisted this way and one will be twisted this other way.
Okay, we've gone ahead and built our manifold beds. We've taken a look at that. We're using some blue soak tape. We've got our fittings, our Superflex, all of our 8mm fittings. Now we're going to connect to this water source here. We put this 8mm barb in. So we're just going to take a little bit of the Superflex. Let's cut a short piece. We're going to attach a valve to that. We'll attach some of the Superflex to the other side. Notice there's an arrow on there too. So this will now attach to the 8mm barb. And then we'll run this one edge of the bed. Go ahead and cut the end and add a flush out valve. Our next steps are going to be to seat the carrots. So in this case, we're doing a long carrot and a short carrot, 5-inch and a 9-inch. I'm gonna go ahead and put the 5-inch right here. I'm gonna take this piece out because it's too short for us to use. I am gonna save this fitting though, and we'll add that. Really doesn't matter where, anywhere that's kind of convenient on this line. I might add it here just because it's tucked back out of the way a bit. I'm gonna take some extra 3mm tubing here, a few feet of that. Always a great idea to have some extra of this on hand when you're doing installs. I'm just going to kind of ballpark this. Should be a good amount. Connect it there to our water source. Run this through the top of the carrot and then into here, connecting it to the header. Now when I'm ready to do the dial-in process, where I'm going to get the hanging drip and set the carrot to maintain this moisture level, I'll disconnect it here and I'll go through that process just like this. And once it's dialed in, I'll go ahead and reconnect it. So I'm now going to take the 9-inch maxi carrot. We're going to mount that in here. Put that reducing T in line. Connect here. And here. To review the system, we have the 1-inch PVC line that is charged to a constant 15 psi. That's our water source. That's connected to this header above us. It's going to run all the way down to the pressure reducer at the far end of the greenhouse. We reduce down to 8 millimeters. Here we have a shutoff valve. This line is our supply line, so that is going to maintain a constant 15 psi in this line, and inside this 3mm line as well, all the way up to here. So 24 hours a day, we're going to see 15 psi constant all the way to this point. Now the carrot, which is a variable flow moisture sensing valve, is going to open and close as the soil dries. And as the soil dries a bit, that valve is going to open a bit, water is going to flow through. It's going to go into this header, and then it's going to fill up these blue soak lines. That same process is repeated on the far end, except that instead of monitoring the soil moisture content in the top 5 inches of the soil, we're monitoring it in the bottom 9 inches with this longer carrot. So again, pressurized water all the way to here. Soil dries, this valve opens, water flows through, fills up this header, and then does a nice even distribution of water throughout the bed with the blue soap.